Hi, my name is Frank Olson and I'm a teaching artist with Mural Arts Philadelphia. Thanks for joining me. With this video, we're going to learn about rhythm. Now, rhythm isn't just part of R&B or rhythm and blues. Rhythm can be found not only in music, but all around you. And today, we'll be exploring visual rhythm. We'll be learning about a few artists and artworks that use great examples of visual rhythm, and we'll also be creating prints that achieve rhythm through the use of stencils. Now, for our project, we'll be ripping our stencils from paper. We'll create a bunch of different abstract shapes that we can use and apply with a variety of different materials. If at any point you need to, stop, pause, or rewind this video for any information. So first, what is rhythm? Now there's many ways rhythm can look in visual art. Think of rhythm in music. Musicians use different instruments to create different notes. And these notes may flow together smoothly. They may have large spaces between each note. The rhythm may be slow or fast or may have many instruments playing all together. Now that same way we talk about rhythm in music is how we can talk about rhythm in visual art. Rhythm is a principle of design that shows movement or action in an artwork. This is often shown by repeating color, shape, line, or more. These elements are repeated and move in a variety of ways. They can be evenly spaced apart from each other. They can be randomly placed. They can flow, bend, or curve. Rhythm creates a visual tempo for the viewer. It can be a pattern or a movement. Now, as we look at these artworks and as you look at your artwork, some visual thinking strategies we can use to examine the art and rhythm we see are: what elements of art do you see that repeat or are used continuously? Where and in what ways do your eyes move along the artwork? What creates a path for your eyes to move along? Is it the line, the shape, the color? What feeling do you get from the rhythm you see? And what do you think the artist is trying to show you? A great place to also find rhythm is in nature and the world around you. So try this. Take a second, slow down, breathe, and listen. What sounds or rhythms do you hear? How can you describe them? Try examining the world around you, spaces big and objects small, to see what kind of visual or audio rhythm comes to mind. Now before we get started, let's take a minute to examine some examples of rhythm in artwork. Let's first take a look at a mural, one right here in Philadelphia, that uses rhythm. Our House by a.k.a. Located on Broad Street just south of Lombard Street, this mural represents the community, different people of Philadelphia, and the structures or institutions that we live in. So a.k.a. poses the question with this mural: how do we harmonize? As we scan this mural, let's see how our eyes follow the artwork. Like a fast-paced jazz song, there's a lot of sharp shapes, loud colors, and lots of different elements playing at the same time. The tempo or rhythm of the mural almost looks hectic, but all the shapes and elements are smoothly aligned, making harmony. And if we're not in harmony, then we don't have one smooth song. Let's also take a look at the work of Alma Thomas. Alma Thomas lived from 1891 to 1978 and was a painter who lived much of her life in Washington, D.C. The paintings she's most known for are abstract. They're not paintings of physical things that exist, but may represent ideas or objects. For Alma Thomas's work, her abstract paintings were often of ideas in nature. Can you guess what some of these abstractions may be from in nature? With her paintings, you can see the way that each element was made: the brush stroke, the color used, the shape of each element, and the space from one element to the next. With the way we arrange line, shape, color, texture, or value, light and darkness, we can create motion and give our eyes a rhythm to follow in the painting. For both a.k.a.'s Our House mural and the paintings of Alma Thomas, we have examples of rhythm in line, shape, and color. When we see rhythm, they bring a certain motion to our visual. When we think about this motion, it may remind you of feelings or places or people. For both these artists, they have a shared identity of being Black and also of being teachers or educators. Across cultures, many Black and Indigenous artists and art forms use patterns and rhythms to tell stories about their culture, history, or lived experience. The way that we may use rhythm is to get the viewer to receive a message of unity and beauty in a fractured world. How do you see the rhythm they use? And what might you use rhythm in your artwork to say about yourself or the world around you? In this project, we'll be looking at how we use rhythm through the art process known as Pochoir printing. Now, Pochoir is just a fancy French word for stencil. Pochoir is an older technique of making prints, repeatable artwork made from blocks or plates. In this case, we'll be using stencils. We'll be making our stencil from abstract shapes, but we can see how stencils can be used from very exact objects from life. In a.k.a. Segoy's butterflies, or papillons in French, the artist uses the natural beauty and art of butterflies to create intricate stencil prints. Just like in most Pochoir, each stencil is a different color. You can see the colors used on the tabs on the left. This means that as each layer of watercolor stencil is applied, colors are overlapped and placed next to each other to create new colors and to make new rhythms with the colors that are printed alongside. Unlike our project, which uses abstract shapes to create our artwork, a.k.a. Segoy uses shapes taken from objects in real life, and in this case, patterns found on butterflies. After you finish our video, maybe you might think about how you can take this project further. Maybe you'll want to create stencils that are used from objects in real life. For our project, first we'll need to gather our materials for our stencils and our prints. For mine, I'm using watercolor, so I'll gather mixed media paper. If you're using dry materials like pencils or crayons, you can use regular 8.5 by 11 printer paper. And we'll get our watercolor paper. No matter which kind of paper that you're using here, we'll be sure to grab a few sheets so that we can make multiple stencils and multiple prints. For my printing materials, I'm going to be using watercolor. So I'll gather my watercolor palette, brushes, water, and a rag to clean any dirty brushes. If you're not using watercolor, you can also use markers or colored pencils. Using our multimedia paper or our plain 8.5 by 11 printer paper, we'll begin to tear our abstract or organic shapes. We want to make shapes that are interesting, unique, and varied. Here are a few ways that I made my shapes, but feel free to try your own. I'm tearing my paper simply. To make it easier for me to tear, I'm first folding each paper in half, and then pinching and tearing along. As I'm tearing, I can hear and feel that my hands are making a rhythm as I go too. I'm tearing a few different types of shapes. Some I'm tearing symmetrically or even on both sides. Others I'm tearing asymmetrically or uneven on both sides. Some of them I'm making one fold and tearing multiple shapes from. And lastly, I'm going to tear one shape from a piece of paper folded multiple times. For my watercolor, I'll ready my watercolor palette, a large brush, some water, a cloth to clean my brush with, and of course my watercolor paper. For this project, each stencil will be one color. For later prints, I can even reuse some of the stencils for different colors, creating a rhythm of repeating objects. Working patiently, I'll wet the color using my water in the color palette, and begin to lightly apply it to the ripped out stencils. Pressing down slightly with one hand, we can use our dominant hand to lightly apply the color, going just over the stencil outline or right up to it. This is the same technique we'll use for all types of mediums we'll use: pencils, markers, or anything else you can think of. Going right up to the edge of the stencil lightly. Once we're finished with that one stencil, we can remove it from our paper. Our paper will need time to dry, so we can set it aside and move on to another one. Here I'm using that same stencil, but I'll try another color. With this project, we can continue to create as many prints as we want until our stencils run out. Often, prints can be used as a form of protest. When you make prints on paper, they can become easy to give out, you can print many quickly, and you can make them cheaply. Often they'll have a message or some sort of narrative. Can you think of ways that you can implement prints to get a message across? Or maybe it's a feeling or an idea. As I work on this second stencil, I'm making sure to allow plenty of dry time between the first and the second. To allow that, I might work on multiple sheets of paper at the same time, letting one dry while I work on the other. As I set these aside, I'm going to switch gears. For this last part, I'm going to show you quickly how you might use dry materials, like a colored pencil, to do the same effect. Here are just a few of the kinds of prints that I got out of my stencils through trying a variety of different materials, between markers, colored pencils, and watercolor. So please try this at home. Try thinking about this in all these different ways and see how rhythm applies to your life. We'd love to see the artwork that you create, so please share it with us. Thanks for watching. I'm Frank Austin, and hope that you have a great time making your own Pochoir prints.